Alright guys, welcome back on board and welcome back to my next late night stream. And you see, I am doing UBOAT as I used to do on Friday nights. And yeah, it's a pleasure to have you in. So let's take a brief look at our general situation. As you see, I am sailing with a Type 7C submarine with some upgrades, but that was not always like that. I started in the beginning of the war, September 39, and I am about to do the whole walkthrough through the war campaign in the game of U-Boat Submarine Simulator. Right now you see we are at the very end of September 42, so we are pretty exactly 3 years into the war. And yeah, having that nice submarine, you see us here off the coast of Canada, and we are just about to refuel and restock our torpedoes and also to get new food on board at a milk cow, which is one of these bulky transport submarines. And yeah, just recently, a few months ago, I actually got a few of these assigned for me from headquarters. So I've put one milk cow here and one milk cow there, so they will be on patrol there, and they will be on call, and I can call them in to let me restock the boat. And this is actually the only way how you could do decent patrols off the US and the Canadian coast, because even with this relatively long-range submarine, this Type 7, you still burn a lot of fuel to get to the other side of the Atlantic, and then you would just have almost no fuel left for the patrolling and the mission and being in the patrol area. So this only made sense since I had the milk cow supply ships available. Yeah, I started, as I said, in the beginning of the war. And yeah, this stream is now going on for quite a while. I couldn't even tell, but it's half a year, 3/4 of a year, something like that, when I started. And so for many nights I'm doing this stream all through the game. And yeah, one of the most amazing facts about U-Boat is its open world character. So you can sail just anywhere with your submarine. Of course, usually it makes sense not to go anywhere but where headquarters orders you. But in principle, you could just sail anywhere. All the coasts are nicely modded, nicely modeled. And also on sea, you have the depth of the seabed modeled everywhere according to maps. Like here, the mouse over now gives you the depth of the sea at any position all over the world. Yeah, and yeah, also the enemies and the world itself, it behaves so great. It's really an alive world. You have, independently of your own action, you have convoys roaming the waters along certain trade routes, and you have to figure out where they are. So there is no kind of scripted missions, but you go out, and if you're lucky, you run into a convoy. And yeah, then each encounter is different depending on the time of the day, on the number of escorts they have, and the condition of your crew, your ship. And yeah, there are so many details modeled in the game. Yeah, if you ask me, I don't know if you ask me, but I will tell you anyway, this is the best submarine sim we ever had. And yeah, coming back to our actual situation, we are in late September 42, 3 years into the war, and we are doing a patrol over here, and our job was to patrol this area here and sink at least 10,000 tons. And as you see, the marker of the patrol area has already vanished. So we have done all the 10,000 tons already. But nevertheless, as it is such an effort to cross the Atlantic, we will stay here and get back to that area and see if we can sink a few more ships, because there is this overall Operation Drumbeat, and we finish it as soon as we have sunk something like 200,000 tons of merchant ships. And we are pretty close to that. We just need something like 8,000 tons. And just in the last convoy action we sank, something like, I don't know, 10, 15,000 tons. So that was pretty nice, because you see, I am doing maximum difficulty level, which means that there is no marks of enemies on the map. I have to do all the dead reckoning and position determination of the enemy by myself, by these kind of graphics. Objects here, I could just draw lines and things. And so we tracked down the convoy, we nicely intercepted it, went to periscope depth right in front of it at dawn, and then we let them just run into us. And so I sneakily fired a few torpedoes and sank 3 merchantmen and 1 escort ship. Yeah, we were heavily depth charged, and at one point we were very, very lucky that they didn't get us. But yeah, finally we got away, and now we live another day to fight another day. That's it so far. So welcome, guys. So might well be that there is quite a few old acquaintances in the stream, so I don't tell you because you know, but always might be a few new guys in, and so please understand that little introduction that I do every time. So we are now in that quadrant of the milk cow, so what is left to do is to call it in. To call for the milk cow via the radio. Maybe let's first do a little check of our status. Yeah, we are pretty far down with our stores, but that's alright. Discipline is high, perfectly fine. Yeah, before this mission I gave the crew 3 weeks of shore leave, and this keeps the morale up for quite a while. 80% of diesel. Yeah. Now let's take a look at the torpedoes. 6 torpedoes left, so we fired 6, and let me think. I think only 2 of them did hit, so not the best hit ratio, but still each of them sank a ship. And we fired also both our stern torpedoes, and one sank a frigate, destroyer, and one did sink a merchantman. So in total we fired 8 torpedoes, and 4 of them scored a hit, and each of them sank a ship. So pretty good ratio, I would say. If you compare it to history, probably 50% hit ratio is pretty alright. Yeah, we could even get that kind of overview here. So yeah, we have torpedo accuracy still of almost 60% hit rate. Our average hit distance. So you see, I usually try to get in pretty close to fire torpedoes. And I never fire torpedoes when I'm further away than a mile, except, if I just want to really do a lucky shot, or using the sound-seeking torpedoes. Okay, that's us. By the way, what's our recent submarine called? It's the U-657. So we already scored a high score with the previous ship, with the previous ships actually, yeah. So we aren't doing too bad, I would say. So guys, let's man the radio. Mr. Hinrich.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
And there we are. Request resupply. So sending the radio message always takes a little while, and it's always a certain risk that this is getting recognized by enemies. So sending radio signals might always bear a certain probability or risk that you get detected. Okay, there they are. Time of the day, it's evening, but maybe we can still do that at daytime. Let's go flank, let's get there as fast as possible. I don't want to search for the supply ship after dusk. So Mr. Arlos, it's your off-watch. Please man the diesel with 2 off-watch hands so that we can go flank speed. Still quite a distance going flank speed. Pretty far away still. So what is this? How long would it take me? 5 hours. Yep. Might well be 5 hours to get there. Time now is 6:20. Yeah, so it will be dark until we rendezvous with the milk cow. By the way, okay, it's 9 knots, so immediate wind speed, but we do have quite some waves going, quite a swell. And yeah, I can't get tired to emphasize the beautiful graphics of the game. Just look at that. I really love how they model the sea, the waves, and how the ship cuts through the waves, throwing up the spray. Yeah, beautiful. Now let's go. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. After 4 hours there is the change of watch. Yeah, it's dark by now. So we have to find the guy in the darkness. Yeah, should be not too much of a problem. Let's give it a save here, and yeah, new stream, new save. W237. Here we are. Yeah, 1 more hour. According to my rough dead reckoning, we should be there at something like 10 past 11 p.m. Yeah, it's night by now. Yeah, if you wonder a bit about the times of sunset and sunrise, something that you have to keep in mind is that the chronometer that we have here on board, it actually shows Berlin time or European time. I'm not quite sure if it's Berlin or Greenwich time, but we have something like at least 4 hours of time difference, I think, to our position here, and you have to keep that in mind if you calculate or try to figure out, estimate the times of sunset and sunrise. So here we are. Now we really have shitty weather. It's thunderstorming. Yeah, we're gonna have a hard time to find the boat, but what we can do is actually turning on the searchlight. So some crewmate. That's so beautiful about the game. If you say something like switch on searchlights, it's never done instantly, but it's always like you give an order to a sailor and the sailor actually has to do that. Okay, so we have them ahead. Distance at the moment 1 mile, well, actually almost 2 miles, not quite, 1.8 miles or something. Yep, the target is still too far. Let's not head straight for it. Reduce speed. Oh, there they are. Yeah, with the binoculars clear to be seen. Yeah, at night the red filter might help a bit. Yeah, that's the German submarine. The supply submarine.
Alle Maschinen stopp.
Yeah, you see in the crew 2 crewmates up there, and that's us from their point of view. Maybe we should turn off the searchlight by now.
Scheinwerfer ausschalten.
So now you see some guy, actually Mr. Schneider, is coming up to turn off the search lamps. Yeah, I'm playing on almost 100% difficulty level, also including dark nights, and yeah, this is what you get at night and in bad weather when you play dark nights. You really see almost nothing. Let's give it a save. And send a delegation. So I usually send Mr. Grade, Mr. Ahlers, Mr. Trommel, and 6 hands. Yeah, if it were daylight, we would see a zodiac passing the distance between the two boats, but not in this complete darkness. Here we are. Ask how the service is going. Come on, that's always the same talk, but we want to see their cargo. So in terms of items we are fine, and now let's take a look at the torpedoes. Okay, so they have yeah, that's something. Now that we are getting later in the war, it seems like that good torpedoes are getting rare, and it's more and more like that. In the Storos there is only this old torpedoes with the PI-1 pistol, which is less reliable, and not the PI-2 or PI-3. But yeah, we have to take what we get. Yeah, old Daisy is saying better than nothing. That's the torpedoes. And refuel. What about the ammo? We didn't fire our guns, so we are still full. Now about food. Let's get this. Yeah, we have to get on anyway for another 2 torpedoes. So let's keep it like that for now, and we are gonna have to do some inventory management and equipment. Okay, we used 1 sonar decoy, so let's see that we get this refilled, and the rest seems to be alright. So get that stuff. Transfer survivors, yes, that's good. Yeah, we actually have to return to the ship to do some management of the galley and of the stores. Yeah, so get over once more. Okay, better ones this time. Can I replace them? Nope. I can, nice. So get these with the old pistol back and do it like that. Alright, torpedoes, fuel, ammo, food. So this is 78, so here I could get 22, right? Like that. Anything else? Yeah, let's go for it. And transfer the stuff. Yeah, it always takes quite a while to get this amount of stuff over to our submarine. And now...
Ja?
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin?
Herr Kapitän? Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloy?
Herr Kaloin?
Ja.
Herr Kapitän? Ja?
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
Okay, so let's do it like that for now. What about the loadout of the torpedoes? Yeah, just fine, but what about my stern torpedoes? It might be that I don't have access to the stern torpedoes at open sea. Let's see. Nice view, and there you see our Zodiac coming in. Now again. Torpedoes, stern torpedo storage. Oh yeah. So let's transfer that and see their cargo. Ah, nice. So we have one spare, which is now a sound-seeking torpedo. Let's do it like that. And return to the ship and transfer the stuff. to the operation area
Halbe Fahrt. Voraus.
and do cruise speed. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, so it still takes a little while till sunrise.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
By the way, number of watches was continuously going up, so thank you very much for being in, for joining. Just see the numbers, I don't see your names, so don't feel observed. And don't feel pushed, I just want to remark that, of course, you can make a little streamer like me even more happy if you give some heads up, some hi in the chat, or do some comment about the game, what you think about it, what your experience is with U-Boat, or what you think about the stream. I don't mind backseat driving, so just any comment is welcome, because this is one of the main reasons why I do streaming. It's because I love these kind of games, and it's because I love to, let me put it like I'm fascinated by getting into contact with all you guys from all over the world. But as I said, don't feel pushed. It's perfectly fine if you just watch anonymously, but if you don't, if you drop a comment in the chat or even give me a follow, it's even the greater. So now we just had being refueled and restocked at the Milk Cow German supply submarine. Hey, Colin, nice to have you back in. Good evening. Yeah, at least I know that we have almost the same time. So it's 1 hour earlier at your place. Around here it's 1:45 actually. Yeah, nice to have you in. Yeah, I don't quite know what the risk actually is, if there is a risk that you get surprised by enemies during resupply. I mean, I have put the positions of my resupply ships, I think it's pretty off trade routes and pretty far off the coast. So, nevertheless, something like a month ago, I actually lost one milk cow. So that was just a radio report, like that the milk cow was shot down. Pretty bland.
Navigation besetzen.
So let's go. Yeah, that's quite a distance over 1, 2, 3 quadrants. If we compare it, over here it's 1, 2, 3. It's, yeah. Yeah, 1 hour of time difference, right? Between Scotland and Germany.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Yeah, so it should take something like half a day or a day to get back into the operation area up here and continue patrolling there.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Here we are.
Navigation besetzen.
Another 4 hours, another 8 bells.
Ich benötige etwas
It would
Unterstützung.
be traditionally, so change of watch every 8 bells. 1 bell is half an hour. It's a bit more, might even be something like 2 days to get there. Yeah, we already have the 6th of October. Yeah. So I wasn't promising too much
Ich benötige hier
in the name of the stream that it would be early October.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum.
And pretty bad weather. Yeah, it's autumn. So it's clear that it's pretty stormy up here in the North Atlantic.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Wird erledigt, Herr Kanoy.
Navigation besetzen.
More or less fine. By the way, let's take a look at the food.
Hier gewartet.
Yeah, that's good. So I have this automatic priority setting that the main job of Mr. Schneider is to continuously keep the torpedoes maintained. Okay, the Cup of Nations, is it kind of the qualification? So is it like there is one African team in the finals? Or just generally qualifications? But okay, so it's football. It's not. Sorry, I was thinking about rugby actually. There we are.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Change of watch and let's carry on. Yeah, the weather is fine, just moderate winds. Okay, alright. So, who are the favorite teams? Relatively calm winds and relatively calm sea. Any headquarter task? No. Don't need any. So my research is pretty good, by the way. I have already researched quite, most of the important technologies, I think. Here you see Mr. Schneider working on the torpedoes. By the way, whoever is in the stream at the moment, let me just show you this nice feature. You can slip into the role of, for example, the bosun. And I really love this first-person view. You could even start a game mode where you only are in first person, but even the developers say that this mode is not yet recommended. But I like to show it now and then because, yeah, it shows how nicely the whole submarine is actually modeled. Okay, so it's Morocco, Egypt, and South Africa. Yeah, interesting. So, torpedo tubes, and here we have the crew berths. Alright guys, at ease. That's the off-watch crew. And this is so nicely simulated in the game that you really use the crew in, yeah, kind of watches. I have separated them into 3 watches, and at the moment 2 of them watches are off and 1 watch is on watch actually. Now this is the officers' bunks, and also the officers, some of them are off watch at the moment. You have to really take care that they don't get too tired. And yeah, hydrophone duty. Well, at that point it's not hydrophone duty, it's the radar detector that Mr. Preen is operating, and 1 crewmate at the radio. The captain himself, Mr. Lomprecht, in the most comfortable bunk of the whole ship. Yeah, mark that he has the maximum privacy with the curtain. Yeah, operation central. Depth steers unmanned now that we are just on the surface, and the helm. The maps. Echo sounder. Gyro compass, the pump, and the petty officers. Petty officers bunks. Alright guys, just relax. The galley. And yeah, the big babies, the heart of the ship, the diesel engines. Mr. Grade, our chief engineer, with 2 crew hands. And these are the electric engines, which are silent, of course, at the moment, and pretty important. A diesel compressor and an electric compressor being redundant, because this is the most important, that you have sufficient compressed air available when you dive, that you can get back to the surface. So to dive, you actually have to flood your ballast tanks, and that's such an enormous amount of water that you could never pump it out in a reasonable time. So the idea of the submarine is that you have compressed air and use the compressed air to push the water out of the ballast tanks. And particularly in case of an emergency, that brings you pretty, if it works, it lets you pop up to the surface like a cork. Okay, that's it so far. Well, however, just turned on the flashlight. So this is the periscope, gauges, and the torpedo calculator, and can get further up onto the bridge on top of the conning tower. Yeah. I love how they actually implement all this graphics wise. Oh, nice. Not just cold. Ahoy. Great to have you in. How are you doing? How was your day? Yeah, we are just on our way back to the target area. Yeah, mine was fine. Another quiet day. So, just with the family. Yeah, my wife actually went out to the stables to care for the horses, so they kind of separate take shifts. So, yeah, she's also doing it tomorrow morning as well. And yeah, she also was taking a ride with a friend. And so we had a very late breakfast with the children when she came back. And probably tomorrow it will be just the same. Yeah, same for me. Same for me. This is what I love about this holiday at the end of the year. So no program. Christmas at home with the family and just relaxing. No obligations. No traveling around in the world, in the country. Yeah, let's carry on. Missing workers at the conning tower. Well, however,
Navigation besetzen.
just want to keep the navigation level high up.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Wird erledigt, Herr Kaloy. Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Natürlich, Herr Kaloy.
Yeah, nighttime. 2 o'clock change of watch.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
And there we are entering the patrol area again. Although it's not the official patrol area again anymore, because yeah, we actually sank already our 10,000 tons of ships. But I would like to continue here to see if we can track down some more enemy ships. So let's delete all these markings from our last huntings 2 weeks ago in game. Well, it was from the last 2 sessions, actually, to speak in real world dimensions. And there we go, like that. So the nature of these kind of missions, like the Operation Drumbeat, is that in this case here we have certain quadrants, and every ship we sink within these quadrants accounts for the overall goal of reaching 200,000 tons of sunk tonnage. And every ship you sink outside doesn't count for that. So this is why we had to get back into this area here. And here now we are gonna do a bit of, yeah, let's see that we get a bit into the area, and then we are gonna do a hydrophone check. Like right now. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, but yeah, keep in mind that it's not local time, but it's European time that we have on our board chronometer. And so, yeah, the sun is gonna rise. Something like 9:30, I guess. Now, however, let's do a hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
So for anybody who is not so familiar with the game already, ordering the hydrophone check is a nice workflow which prevents you from doing too much micromanagement. So you see what happens. All the crew is running to, or the off-watch crew is running to the front compartment. Mr. Aal is opening the valves. 2 guys have manned the depth steers, and opening the valves actually means that now water is streaming into the ballast tanks. First into the 4 ballast tank, you see it getting full, and then into the stern ballast tank, being a little bit behind for obvious reason, so that the bows gets underwater first to accelerate the diving process. And yeah, all these steps are wonderfully modeled in detail, and yeah, that's what I love so much about the game. You are not commanding a machine
Aktuelle Tiefe
which
25
instantly
Meter.
follows your orders, but I'm sorry, but you are actually ordering a crew, commanding a crew. They carry out your orders, and then, only then, things actually happen.
40 Meter.
What about the galley? Yeah, looks alright still. And there we are, down at 150 meters. And yeah, the crew has stopped the engines, and now Mr. Hinnerich
50 Meter.
at the hydrophone is gonna listen. And that's the point. That's the point of the hydrophone check. As soon as you are away from the sound, from the noise of the waves at the surface, the hydrophone develops an enormous listening range. It's a bit limited at the moment, so it's only something like 80 miles, because, yeah, with 12 knots we have quite a wind speed and obviously quite some waves and a swell going on up there, which reduces the range a bit. Maximum hydrophone range with this upgrade that we have is something like slightly above 90 miles. Like that. So we have a slightly reduced hydrophone range due to the weather.
45 Meter.
One of these nice little features that you have in the game, making it even the more realistic.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kanone?
But no hydrophone contact at the moment. In principle, yeah, as sound propagates over enormous distances with an enormous speed underwater, we would hear just any moving propeller within this enormous range of a radius of 80 miles. So, at the moment, no contacts. Yeah, U-Boat is definitely no quick action game, no arcade game, definitely not. So, yeah, things really take some time. Like here, as you are in a real world, it's, yeah, just like you have to be lucky. Yeah, sometimes you have to be loads of hydrophone checks for hours and hours until you actually detect some convoy. But in the past, in this area here, I was usually pretty successful quickly in tracking down convoys. It's quite a lot of traffic around here. But not a lot of other German submarines. When I was in the Eastern Atlantic, I regularly ran into other German submarines, and they even interfered with my attacks. So might well be even that you just want to torpedo a merchantman, and then he goes up in flames because he was just torpedoed by another German submarine coming from the other side. That was earlier in the war, but right now, later in the war, and here on the other side of the Atlantic, I think I haven't run into any other German submarine yet, which of course is pretty realistic. So, no contacts. Yeah, the crew keeps this status of listening for 5 minutes and then brings the boat back to the surface as part of the workflow. Yeah, there we go. And so that was the order. So now there will be one of the officers, Mr. Arlos in this case, he will again handle the valves. So now he opens the valves of the compressed air, and compressed air is being pushed into the ballast tanks to push the seawater back into the Atlantic where it belongs, and the boat will quickly pop up to the surface. And here you see the crew actually changing from electric engines to operating the diesel engines. And as at the moment our bosun, Mr. Trummel, is officer of the watch, and he can't handle the engines, he's no technician, so it's just 2 crewmates operating the engines. Whenever Mr. Grade or Mr. Arles are on watch, chief engineer, first mechanic, then they will actually handle the engines by themselves and give them some more performance, so you can go faster then, and you would use less fuel, particularly if you add additional crew hands to support them. Time 9:15. The sun hasn't yet been rising. Or maybe we might just not see it because of the overcast sky. Let's see how it would look like in half an hour. At 9:30. My guess was that the sun would be up then, so we can't really see it. The sky is completely overcast, so it's a bit unclear whether the sky. I think the sun is already up above the horizon by now, and you have this wonderful shading of the sky, clearly seeing that bright direction to the east where the sun is rising, and the dark part to the west. Beautiful. So even with this respect, the direction of your attack towards a convoy really makes a difference. in terms of spotting, yeah, if you're spotting the enemy and the enemy spotting you, pretty much depends on from which direction you actually attack. Hey, hey! Nice, thank you very much, Pit. A pleasure to have you in again. That's great, wonderful, guys, to have you in again. So, hi, Scratchy. Great, you came in with Pete? Yep, nice. Yeah, it's great to have you in. I'm pretty much in awe for Pit Pinsel, so I guess you would probably also consider yourself a small streamer, but at least you used to have a base of something like 20, 30, 40 people watching, which is really great. And yeah, so you are 1 or 2 levels above me, and particularly for a game like UBOAT, I think this is pretty good to have so many people watching. So thanks for supporting me with the raid. Yeah, we are. Let me briefly summarize. We are still out here continuing our mission, which we already did yesterday. Yeah, a lot of lurkers, yep. But that's fine. Yeah, as I used to say, I love to get in contact with people via the streams, and just great, but it's also perfectly fine if people just lurk. Yeah, I'm particularly fascinated by the concept of actually doing it in this way, like, yeah, the hardcore thing, if you die, never reload. That's pretty tough. It is late. Yeah, but yeah, around here it's 1:15, and I could still do 1.5 hours of streaming. I can sleep long tomorrow. No work, so just fine. By the way, Pit, Scratchy, how are you doing? Pit, how was your stream? Squad 44, yep. I've been watching it, yep. Quite nice.
Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
Yeah, okay, yep. Yeah, I actually have been playing some Arma Reforger before I started this stream. So I hadn't been playing Arma Reforger since half a year or something, and only now that I got in, I really got trouble with stability. So my computer actually stalled, and several times I had a complete game crash. No, actually, I never ran into drones yet. Maybe it's some additional modded content and it wasn't active on the servers, but I only started to play a bit, and on many servers the last 3 days I really got hard crashes, which even killed forced my computer to freeze, and I had to completely hard reboot my computer. And yeah, then I did some modifications. I have a relatively good graphics card, and still I reduced the quality a bit, and now today it might of course also be a thing of a lucky shot that I had a good server, but I stayed in the game for maybe half an hour or an hour, and I didn't have any system crash. Yeah, I was eagerly watching the temperature of my CP of my GPU, and yeah, I'm still a little bit worried. Maybe I should still reduce the settings a bit before I would actually try to stream Arma Reforger. But yeah, let's get back to U-boat. Here we are. We finished the patrol. Our job actually was to patrol this area and sink 10,000 tons. We did that, and after that I went back to the milk cow and refueled, restocked torpedoes and food, and now, yeah, although the mission is over, I still want to see if I can track down a few more merchantmen around here. So we just had one hydrophone check, there was nothing going on. So by the way, let's give it a save, because I'm not as hardcore as Pitt is. I have to admit. So let's carry on. It's there we have the sun. Beautiful, isn't it? I love that graphic so much. And okay.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Yeah, we are still above 90% of fuel. Yeah, we just refueled at the milk cow, so everything is fine. Let's carry on for, yeah, let's do the next change of watch, and now
Hier etwas Unterstützung.
let's do our next hydrophone check.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Tauchen auf 35 Meter.
Hydrophone check again. So I guess that all you watchers from Pitt's stream, you are probably all old salts in terms of the game, and I don't have to explain to you the concepts. But yeah, just to remark it, for just anybody, we are ordering some kind of standard workflow which initiates quite a line of orders being carried out. And we see that the ballast tanks are already flooded. The crew had been walking to the front compartment.
E-Motoren wechseln.
Depth charge had been manned, and now we are going down. Just 13 liters of water in the bilge. That's nothing.
Schraubengeräusche.
Mm.
Kleine Gruppe. Peilung 350 Grad.
Oh, just men of war. Just men of war, Mr. Preen says.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle. Schraubengeräusche. Kriegsschiffe, kleine Gruppe. Peilung 100 Grad.
35 Meter.
So let's mark this one on the map. So it's obviously a military convoy. Let's call it military 01. And this other one,
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
another military.
Schraubengeräusche. Kriegsschiff. Peilung 140 Grad.
A single.
Aktuelle Tiefe 30
I really
Meter.
don't want to run into purely military task forces. It just doesn't make much sense.
Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloi.
Oh, that one is close. Shit. Well, not critical, but still surprisingly close. Military 03 distance. 22 miles. Yeah, of course. Still far out of vision range, but close. And yeah,
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
it's closing in. Closing in. And no information about that one. Too far away, probably, to get
30 Meter.
these details. Okay. So it seems to be pretty shallow around here. The crew didn't bring the boat to 50 meters, which is standard, but stopped at 30 meters. And all of them being military. Yeah, come on. I'm not gonna hunt down a military task force. 3 to 8 men of war, 2 men of war, 1 single man of war. Yeah, these two are probably 2 lone submarine hunters. This one as well, and this one might be a task force, like having a few capital men of war, capital ships with them. But still, you don't get, even for the capital military ships, you don't get any tonnage. It's just the reputation and the reward in terms of Reichsmark money, but you don't get any tonnage accounted for. So at the moment I would not go for any of these guys. By the way, please allow me to be AFK just for 1 minute, for obvious reasons. Be back in a minute. Alright guys, thanks for the patience. Hey, yip yap. Great to have you in. I was just AFK for 60 seconds. So great to see that meanwhile you did join the stream. Nice to have you in. You see me doing a hydrophone check here, so you remember that yesterday we had quite some successful convoy action, sinking 3 merchantmen and 1 escort, actually fulfilling the mission goals with that. So we restocked, refueled, now we have a full complement of torpedoes again and food, and we went back into the mission area, the X mission area, to see if we can sink a few more ships. At the moment we have 3 contacts, all of them seem to be purely military. Hey Colin, yeah, so I was never sure about that air capability. So if there is a carrier, do I really have to assume that there will be air patrols around? I never really had that feeling that that the carriers are the base for these kind of patrols. Not 100% sure if it is implemented in the game. You think it is, yeah? Hey Aquising, how are you doing? Yeah, at the moment it's pretty tricky to do deep water exploration around here because it's pretty shallow water. It's just 50 to 100 meters. So no deep water horizon. Nah, okay, now that was something different. Yeah, how are you doing, Aquaicing? Hope you enjoy your time. Yeah, in Germany, actually the 26th is another official Christmas day. I think in most other countries it isn't. Yeah, okay, busy day, but as I understood, it was kind of private business and no business, right? So there we are back at the surface, and yeah, Colin, your comment at least yeah, let's avoid that military task force. It's also a holiday over there, aqua-icing. Yeah, nice. Wasn't aware of that. I thought that maybe Germany is the only country which has an official holiday. Okay, what does it mean? Boxing Day? Don't quite get that meaning, to be honest. So let's change course and go a bit like that for a while. Let's see that this guy here is running towards us with high speed, so we should maybe do another hydrophone check not too far in the future. Okay, present returns. But yeah, does it mean that the shops are open? Do you mean that with returning presents to the shop, or? Okay, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think here at our place everybody was happy with his or her gifts, presents. So no reason to get something back. No. Yeah, how long? Let's go for at least 1 hour and then make up our minds what to do. So 2:15. Pretty bad weather. Pretty limited visibility. Let's go for another hour. And then let's do another hydrophone check, so that we just get an impression of
Tauchen auf 10 Meter.
their movement. We had these 3 contacts. Let's see how they evolved in the 2 hours. Wow, now it's really shallow around here. Just 20 meters, come on. So we probably won't have a pretty high hydrophone range. Let's see. Yeah, nice atmosphere again. Of course, it's shitty weather, but it's done beautifully in the game, isn't it? Yeah, okay, so good luck with your essay. By the way, when was Harry Truman, roughly? I'm not so good with the US presidents, I have to admit. Harry Truman, was it before the First World War? Yeah, okay, alright. Yep.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
So I don't think that we get a good hydrophone range. Well, let's see what we have. Okay, it's only 36 miles of radius, and that's due to the fact that we are very shallow and due to the fact that the weather is pretty bad, so very stormy, almost maximum wind speed that you can get in the game. How was it like that? So he took over from Roosevelt because he died. Might be. Yeah. I have to admit, I'm from your US guy's point of view, it might look pretty stupid. Because I think you probably could just tell all the presidents from the very beginning, and even when they started and when they ended. Yeah, but not quite for me, I have to admit. I couldn't even do that for all the German Bundeskanzler.
Herr Kaloy?
Okay, I see, we are already out of range. So if they haven't moved distinctly towards us, they would still be out of range. So we have moved something like that. So they are moving much faster than us, probably. So let's see. Might well be that we get a contact. Yeah, that's the same for me. So the Bundeskanzler is actually what you would call the Prime Minister. Just the same. No. Yeah, it's so shallow around here. I was just thinking about, yeah, you know that when you want to remember a name, it just doesn't cross your mind that you start the alphabet, counting through the alphabet in your head, and then hope that when you reach the letter, that it comes to your mind. And yeah, I was just ending up with Trudeau with T. Yeah, for Germany I could just look back. So, actual Chancellor, actually it's, yeah,
Anblasen.
Mr. Merz. Before we had Mr. Scholz, before it was Mrs. Merkel for many years. Yeah, Colin, this is really, yeah, something to remember of, yeah. Yeah, so to speak positively, you could say that Mr. Truman actually ended the Second World War. And yeah, from German point of view, we are pretty thankful for that. I mean, imagine. So it was pretty due back then that Germany lost the war and we got rid of that mad guy, the Führer. So I think most of the German people feel like that. That we are pretty glad that you allies actually stopped that mad thing going on and kind of freed Germany. I never feel like that it was a loss. From my point of view, although it's my own country which lost the war, I would still say the war was actually won. Because back then it was so clear and so easy to tell who was the good guys and who was the bad guys. And the bad guys actually were German. So, well, nevertheless, I mean, we are playing this game here from the point of view of Germans. And yeah, this is what I quite like about this game, that I never did the whole playthrough, but some of you guys in the stream did, and so I know that this game is not about changing history or something, or turning things, turning the tide pro Germany, but well, it's just slipping into the role, and the war will be lost in the end, and yeah, we are just about slipping into the role of the captain of one of these technically fascinating submarines. And nobody wants to rewrite history, actually. So we didn't get any contact, right? Yeah, actually, I mean, I'm still old enough that, yeah, my grandfather, he actually served in the war, and I had a very good relationship with my grandfather. We met pretty often. We was just living not next door, but pretty close, and over a decade he was having, well, when I was coming back from school, he was there and having lunch together with us. So we were pretty close, and he was not a big storyteller, so he wasn't the kind of guy who was telling hero stories about the war, not at all. More to the contrary. But now and then he did tell some things, and that was quite fascinating. And I am pretty 100% sure that he was no Nazi, but yeah, he was actually a professional soldier. So a few years before the war, he contracted to the German army. And well, you could say he was just doing his job. But of course, that's a poor argument. But still, yeah. Yeah, he was just yeah, an infantry guy, a petty officer, something like that. And yeah, he once told me that he was in the middle of the war. He was scheduled to do the officers' training, and back then he was kicked by a horse and broke his arm, and so he couldn't join the officers' training. And yeah, his comment on that actually was that later he was pretty glad to just be petty officer and not commissioned officer in all that bullshit that was to follow. Yeah, but nevertheless, quite some fascinating stories that he had. From the Western campaign and also, well, later from the Eastern campaign. Yeah, and being part of the Eastern campaign, he finally, he on the Vormarsch, like it was called, he was being ahead of this squad and stepped onto a mine, onto a landmine, losing his one leg, or half of it. And that was the end, and that was maybe because he survived. That was something he told me once, that he thought himself to be pretty lucky because it was just around lunchtime when he stepped onto the mine, and it was this terribly cold winter. So at that time it wasn't that cold, and they put him onto a sledge with horses and were able to get him back to the hospital, to the field hospital in time. And so he survived, and yeah, at that point he was out of business. Yeah, acquiescing, that's the point, yep. Yes, yeah, MRC. Hey, great that you're in, and great that you're participating in the chat. Good evening, nice to have you in. Hope you're fine. And it pretty much depended on the region, yep. Yeah, he also had quite some weird stories. As I said, he was not quite an adventure storyteller. Yeah, my other grandfather, I never met him because he died. Well, actually, he died when I was something like 3 or something. So I never really learned him to know. But he was in the Baltics. And he got prisoner of war there, and my father once told me that that was quite some adventure, because he said that he was actually escaping from being prisoner of war there, and then fighting himself, and a friend of him all the way back from the Baltic to Germany at the end of the war. But I don't know, never met him, really. I mean, not that I remember. There are photos of me on his lap when I was something like 3. But that other grandpa of mine, he only died when I was something like 25. So we were very close. And one of these very few stories that he had been telling, and that fascinated me quite a bit, was like, yeah, they were on the Vormarsch to the east, and then his company, they were separated on, yeah, they had to cross a big river, so they were separated onto different zodiacs, and he was in command of one of the zodiacs, and they went onto a shallow, got stuck, and didn't get away, and by that they actually lost the contact to the rest of their company. And so finally they managed to get it going again, reached the shore, but were kind of lost. And so he and the men he was in command of, they just marched eastward, and at one point hit the front, and the commanding officer there, he kind of went mad and said that, yeah, my grandfather was actually, how do you call it when you just run away from the fight? And yeah, he said that he would like to court-martial him in the next morning for cowardice, and yet to desert. Actually, that was what he actually wanted him to be court-martialed for. And yeah, you could guess what it would end. And exactly in this night, there was a heavy attack of Russian forces on this part of the front. And well, actually, my grandfather, he was part of a heavy machine gun squad, and maybe you have heard of that legendary German heavy machine gun. And so he had, I don't know, 1 or 2 of them with him. And so on the next morning, this commanding officer came to him and awarded him with the Iron Cross, because he and his men actually had saved this part of the front from this Russian ambush. So you see how mad it was back then. So in the evening they wanted to shoot him for being a deserter, and in the morning he became awarded with the Iron Cross. Weird things going on. So, although we are fascinated by the technology and the challenges of war, this is why we are actually watching this game and playing the game. Let's just keep in mind that we hopefully never gonna face these kind of situations in the future like our grandparents did. That was actually a wild story, and I'm pretty sure that it is true. My grandfather wasn't a storyteller. Okay, so sorry, I was kind of getting into being pretty talkative about that. Let's get to the game. Let's get back to the game. Yeah, we were doing a hydrophone check, actually, and yeah, no contacts anymore. Although, because of the bad weather, we had a pretty much reduced hydrophone range. Yeah, the scenic views. Yeah, I hope you also enjoyed my storytelling a bit as well. Yeah, let's carry on. We don't want to meddle around with these purely military convoys, so let's just go
sind aufgetaucht.
Yeah, we are, of course.
Navigation besetzen.
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
Yeah, let's give it a save. Yeah, what a rough sea. Look at that. Look at that. I really love how they implemented it. Let's go for another 2 hours. So, let's do another hydrophone check. How much water do we have? So it's okay. So that was just a very shallow area here. And now we are getting into deeper water again. So let's do a decent hydrophone check again.
50 Meter.
Just want to be sure that I don't run out of food. So let's have the canned fish in parallel. And down we go. We don't see much in the darkness.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Aktuelle Tiefe 20 Meter.
Yeah, there were a lot of other stories of my grandfather that he told me over the years, and not all of them were about the war. It was also about, like, during the war he actually met his wife, and yeah, first getting in contact with his family, with her family and things. So it's pretty fascinating. So he was kind of cast around Germany randomly at the end of the war, ending up where I finally grew up. Yeah, he was from a completely different part of Germany. He was from Eastern Germany, and I grew up in Western Germany because at the end of the war he randomly was kind of cast towards Düsseldorf in Western Germany to do a job there after, yeah, he couldn't do his military service anymore. Yeah, it would be, yeah, that's kind of my plan for if I ever have some time left and not doing all this streaming. I would love to kind of write down all these, yeah, adventures that my grandfather went through that he told me, and make kind of a story out of it. Yeah, okay, it's still stormy, 25 knots. That's the maximum wind speed that you can have in the game.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
So not pretty high probability that we actually find something. Ah, come on, look, we only have something like 18, 19, 20 miles of detection radius with the hydrophone in this bad weather.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
Yeah, again, Mr. Schneider doing the maintenance on the torpedoes. Very good.
Torpedorohr 2 gewartet.
I love these animations where you really see the routine of just any single crewmate. Somebody once called it, this one here in one of my streams, he called it like it's The Sims on a U-boat. The Sims on a submarine. There he's doing the maintenance on the next torpedo. Beautiful, I love that.
Wird erledigt, Herr Kanoi.
Oh shit, nah, don't. Just stick to the radio. No. Yeah, we just have a little bit of water in the bilge. That's water seeping in through the gaskets. That's no leak or something. Also one of these beautiful features. Ah, yeah, Colin. So, here is Colin. He's on the YouTube channel, so you guys can't see his comments, but he just wrote that he met one Jewish guy who actually escaped from Germany to Scotland, and he was doing some talk at the schools in Scotland to talk about his experience. Yeah, that's quite a good thing to keep up the memories of these kind of guys. Hey, Lord of Choco. Yeah, it's just the same, just Slocum. You could just join on.
Anblasen.
Hey, Choco Suchi. Hey, thanks for the comment. Colin, come, Twitch man. Hey, yeah, thanks very much, Choco Suchi. That's pretty funny because I just have Lord of Choco joining the stream on Twitch, and now I get this comment from you guy, from Choco Suchi. Choco Sushtik. Are you German?
15 Meter.
Sounds a bit like that.
Auf diese Motoren wechseln.
Herr Kanoi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Yeah, of course, my chat is actually focused on Twitch. But hey, same guy. Okay, yeah, nice. Yeah, thank you for also joining the YouTube channel. But yeah, you're right. So all you guys who are interested in a little chat, so I would say that YouTube is more watching focused and Twitch is more chat focused. So I always enjoy this attitude of the Twitch watchers to also have a little chat, give some comments. Schokosuchti, yeah. Yes. Yeah. He's the Schoko-Suchti, the chocolate Suchti. Schokoladensuchti, yeah. Yeah, usually the YouTube community is not that chatty. Where I mean chatty in a positive way. So most of the chat is actually going on Twitch, but nevertheless, I'm pretty glad to have you, Colin, to keep up a little bit of chat level also on YouTube. Now here we are back to the surface.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloi?
No any contact. Yeah, what can we do?
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet.
Let's just carry on like that.
Herr Kaloi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Natürlich, Herr Kaloi.
We still have that storm going on. We still have 25 miles of wind speed. So, yeah, come on, no point in doing another hydrophone check around here. Such bad weather. Let's hope that at one point weather is gonna improve.
Navigation besetzen.
Okay, now we only have 16 knots of wind speed. It's still night time.
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
Yes. So let's do another hydrophone check here. It's pretty shallow, probably. Well, 100 to 200 meters.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Hydrophone check. Yeah, off-watch crew running to the front compartment. Mr. Aal is opening the valves, and here you see successively 2 crewmates manning the depth steers. And here we are having the ballast tanks being flooded. Hey, it's so nice to have all of you guys in the chat.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
I really enjoy that. And down we go.
25 Meter.
Yeah, Mr. Hinrich, you get supported by one more guy. Yeah, it pretty much depends on what they are doing. So some actions can be supported by 2 guys, and some other actions can only be supported by 1 guy, because there is just one additional working place at the hydrophone.
Schraubengeräusche. Große Gruppe. Peilung 225 Grad.
50 Meter.
Hey Colin, yeah, that's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. And yeah, it really kind of moves me to tears if I hear stories about what it must have been back then for these kind of people. Yeah.
45 Meter.
Okay, that's a decent convoy. For sure. That must be just a decent merchant convoy. Let's call it just Convoy 01.
Herr Kapitän?
This is our next target to chase down. Yeah, about Christmas, yeah. So, yeah, same for me. I am actually slightly overweight, but Christmas didn't help with that. Let's save here. And so sorry guys, I just have to be AFK for 60 seconds. Don't go away. It pretty much looks like that we finally are gonna track down a big merchant convoy. Now let's finish the hydrophone check. 5 minutes of listening. Just to make sure that we don't miss anything. And then we are heading our course straight for that guy. Ah, yeah, Colin. Yeah, it's really great if people are able to kind of forgive. And of course, yeah, not all Germans were evil Nazis, but yeah, you still looking back, you could blame our grandfathers and grandmothers to, yeah, not having opposed against them. But, well, from up here, it's easy to kind of criticize and give good hints. Hey, Lord of Choco, yeah, that's right. There are no German battleships in the game. In the game you only have, well, U-boats, submarines. And in the port you sometimes also see German transports, I think. But you never see them at sea. But no any capital ships, yep. Then there are a few missions where you actually see German destroyers. Let's see, that's particularly this Norwegian campaign.
Anblasen.
Okay, so let's get back to the surface and turn around. And so now the chase is open. So, Mr. Arles, it's your turn. Although you're on off watch, I still want you and 2 additional hands to go for the engine so that we can go flank speed and turn right towards that convoy.
10 Meter.
So now this is what I usually do, standard procedure.
Herr Kaloy, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Heading for that contact for 1 hour and then doing another hydrophone check, and then we can easily, or well, there is some uncertainty, but at least within the range of some uncertainty we can then determine their direction of movement, their heading actually, and their speed. So now it's 5 minutes to, you wouldn't say that, right? 5 minutes to 6:30. 25 minutes past 6. So it's still dark, but the sun will rise soon, hopefully. Hey, Lord of Choco, it's perfectly fine if you just participate in the chat in German. Please just don't blame me for not answering in German. Because, yeah, as I mentioned before, I really love to do this interaction all over the world. So I really love to keep that stream international. Yeah, Colin, that's the point. That really the what we call Zeitzeugen. So the people who actually lived through that period back then in the war, they're dying out. There are not many people left who could actually tell us about how it was back then and actually tell us what a big shit war actually is, and fascism and racism. Yeah, 1 hour. We are going flank speed. which gives us, yeah, something like 16 to 17 knots. And after 1 hour, we are gonna do another hydrophone check. Here we are. Yeah, the map says it's 50 to 100 meters. Let's see to what depth the crew actually brings us. Sorry. Yeah, and this morning I actually had that feeling that I was getting a cold, so I had kind of a scratch in my throat, but during the day it actually improved. Let's see.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Now, hydrophone range should be alright because wind speed is not too much. And we are not getting to 50 meters, but yeah, let's see. Engines are still running, so we are still gonna get some increased range. Now engine stopped.
35 Meter. Schraubengeräusche. Kleine Gruppe. Peilung 355 Grad.
Okay, it's almost 90, a radius of 90 miles. That's fine.
Herr Kaloy.
Oh, nice. They are coming in.
Schraubengeräusche. Große Gruppe. Peilung 355 Grad.
Nice.
30 Meter.
That's good. CO1. So we.
Herr Kaloy.
Aktuelle Tiefe 35 Meter.
8 miles, so looks like they're moving with 8 knots, which is the typical speed for a merchant convoy. Very good. So this is pretty comfortable
30
in
Meter.
terms of interception. So they should be going something like that. And when they're moving with 8 knots, after 1 hour, they should be here. And after 2 hours, they should be there. And what about us? 1 hour. Yeah, and that's our interception course then. 1 hour would bring us here. And half an hour would bring us there. And them, half an hour would bring them there. So that's the perfect interception course. Yeah, this is also what I quite love about the game. Like, I played on the difficulty level of not having the contacts marked automatically on the map. And yeah, I pretty much like to do these strategic considerations. Yeah, we're gonna finished the hydrophone check, 5 minutes, and see. Yeah, the galley is still fine, is it? Yep. Water in the bilge is completely uncritical. Oh, we have a poet on board.
Anblasen.
And there we go, back to the surface. So now we are gonna
10
go
Meter.
for 1 hour with flank speed, bringing us there, and maybe we should do another hydrophone check then
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
to get another data point. So extrapolation just from 2 data points might be pretty faulty. So 8:30, let's go. To 9:30. Here we are. Let's do another hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
So according to my dead reckoning, they should be here by now. Okay. Hey, Colin. Yeah. Gammel Dansk. I think Gammel, it means old, right? At least I remember from one of my long term ago Norwegian holidays that there was a term like Gammel Ost, which meant old cheese. A herbal liquor, yeah, okay.
25 Meter. Aktuelle Tiefe 45 Meter.
Guy, what are you doing? Ah, yeah, it's the second hydrophone check here. Yeah, all right. So I was a little bit distracted by the chat, I have to admit.
Herr Kapitän,
And now let's see if we can confirm that. Our extrapolation would guess that the target should be somewhere around here. Let's see if this is true.
Schraubengeräusche
Oh,
60 Meter.
okay, weird. But that must be a different group actually. It's just a small group of ships. The other one, they were much more. Let's call it small convoy.
Große Gruppe.
Oh, one.
Leitung 25 Grad. Ja,
Okay, the other one here.
50 Meter.
Okay. Also in a complete different direction. That's a little bit confusing, but let's see. Convoy O. Yeah, I would assume it's a different one.
Herr Kaloy,
1, 2. And let's hope that we also get a signal from this convoy that we are actually trying to chase down. Hey, yippee yap, so you're halfway done through your essay about Harry Truman. Good to hear. Yeah. Yeah, these are just 2 units. They might be military. Don't really want to run into purely military convoys, but let's see what the hydrophone check brings. I hope that we still get one more contact around there. Okay, coughing always makes me nervous. Might be tuberculosis. Come on, guys, please give me one more contact of that large convoy. Please let it not just have vanished.
Herr Kaloin,
The coughing again.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloy. Wird erledigt, Herr Kaloy.
Yeah, let's have Mr. Arles getting. Yeah, so this is my strategy. So there is inventory slots for the offices, and for all the mechanics guys I do have inventory slots
Kapitän.
occupied by the spare parts and by the oxygen thingy.
Kapitän. Herr Kapitän.
Hey, come on, guys. So we just didn't get that contact.
20 Meter.
Can't believe that they changed course that much. Blind spot, yeah, but like if you look at it, I'm moving on that course and they should be here.
Herr Kaloin, wir sind aufgetreten.
Can't really believe that this is blind spot actually, but in principle it's a good point, MRC. I'm not quite sure. I mean, we definitely have a blind spot astern. And yeah, figures say that we also have a small blind spot ahead, but I'm not quite sure about that. Yeah, it isn't. Yeah, you're right. And well, that was the expert from here to here. That's the two contacts that I had. So extrapolation says after another hour that should be there. Yeah, let's continue for half an hour and see what we get.
Navigation besetzen.
And still have Mr. Arles at the engines again, so that we can go flank for half an hour. Yeah, let's go till 9:10. Get the save at that point. Here we are, and let's give us
Tauchen auf.
another hydrophone check.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5
Auf
Meter.
E-Motoren wechseln.
A good question. It's just the same. Sounds the same. So fish in German is fish. Only difference is the spelling. So in German it would be F-I-S-C-H.
25 Meter.
But it's pronounced exactly the same. So fish in English is fish in German. Just with a C between the S and the H. Yep. Yeah, in German, if we say sh,
45 Meter.
if we say sh, it's S-C-H and not just S-H.
Schraubgeräusche. Kleine Gruppe. 120 Grad.
Now let's see what we
Ich
get.
erwarte Ihre Befehle.
Okay. It's this one.
50 Meter.
2 to 5.
Schraubengeräusche. Große Gruppe. Peilung 25 Grad.
Single O whatsoever. Small
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
convoy. Oh, 1 maybe, but I'm not sure. Might be different contact, that one. And what about this one? Okay, it's moving on like that. I called it convoy 2.
Meter.
Half an hour, 3 miles, so they're moving with something like 6 miles. And this one, in half an hour they were doing 5, so that guy is moving pretty fast. And now let's hope that we finally, this guy should be somewhere here right now. They can't just be away, come on. Yeah, but, well, it's the fog of war, so might still be that I had some misreading. At least experience is that the game is not buggy, but that it is pretty consistent in everything that it does.
Herr Kapitän?
Of course, if they're going with just 6 knots, I could really try to intercept these guys. Seems to be a large convoy, so it might be worthwhile. 25 to 52 ships. That's a lot. So I think I would go after them. These guys are 2 to 5. So my guess would be that it is military. And yeah, looks like they're moving with 10 knots, which kind of supports that theory. But these guys move in this direction. They seem to be lost. So they must have changed course, maybe. But that's pretty weird. That's pretty weird. Just on a pleasure cruise. You mean these guys here, the military ships? I don't know. I don't know. Really don't like to go after formations which seem to be purely military. Yeah, Aqua Icing, he's more the no risk, no fun guy. Yeah, you're right. Might also be juicy tankers, but I think you wouldn't have 2 tankers together, right? That would actually at least be my experience. You would have tankers in a convoy, or you would have single tankers, but I never ran into 2 tankers. Or did you? I might be wrong. What's your impression?
Anblasen.
Or experience? So we didn't get any contact on this guy again. So I'm really feeling like I would like to go for that guy. Let's do some extrapolation of their course. They're going like that. So 1 more hour
20 Meter.
would bring them there.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloin, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Kurs auf diese
And
Koordinaten.
1 more hour would bring us there. Yeah, we could well catch up with this guy. this is the range where we can still sink them. Ah, that looks good. So it's 20 past 9. So we have to go for 20 past 10. Anyway, let me save the game once and let me be AFK just for 1 minute. Let's see if I do find some decent snack, late night snack. Be back in a minute. Back again. So sorry, I was AFK. So, what did you get from Christmas? Yeah, well, for me it was actually books. So, I got one book, which was, I didn't yet quite dive into it, but I think it was about the exploration of the world. I mean, in a geographical sense, like the history and what that actually meant for mankind. And let me think, two more books, but a bit embarrassing, but at the moment just couldn't describe what they were about. Yeah, one about dialects. One book about kind of dialects which are at the edge of extinction all over the world. And that's quite interesting because I'm a big fan of dialects. I'm not very good with dialects, so neither in German nor in English. I'm pretty good in understanding people talking in dialects, but nevertheless I quite respect that concept, and I quite like this kind of local touch of people having their own accents and dialects. So I'm pretty curious about this book. And the third one, to be honest, I don't remember right now. Sorry. Hope that the guy who gifted it to me is not watching this stream, or he or she should be pretty pissed off. So what about you? Yeah, we're going flag speed. Yeah, change of watch. And yeah, let's make sure that we are gonna continue with flag speed. And 20 past, right? Wasn't it? So now let's do another hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50
And
Meter.
let's confirm their position. Would be great if we could confirm the position of that convoy, while this one here miraculously vanished, actually. These two ships I suspect to be military. So let's go after that convoy. Yeah, this contact could have been this guy here.
Tiefe 5 Meter. E-Motoren wechseln.
If you look at it. Well, could be, but could not be just as well. Here we are.
25 Meter.
So we do have a decent range of detection. Let's keep fingers crossed that we detect this convoy being somewhere there, because this is the convoy that I want to track down now. The map says that the depth of the seabed is 100 to 200 meters, so we do a decent hydrophone check at 50 meters.
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet. 50 Meter.
So please give me some contacts.
Meter.
Schraubengeräusche. Großer Konvoi. Peilung 35 Grad.
Meter.
Okay, yeah, amazing. About World War II, yeah. Probably from the other point of view that I got from my grandfather. So from your age, or at least what I guess what your age is, I would expect that your grandfather was not in World War II, was he? Maybe he was. Just teach me better. Yeah, but still, he must have been pretty close to it. Still kind of getting the wake of World War II, like my parents actually did.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
All right, that's good. So this guy seems to be there. And CO3, convoy 03, 02. Seven. Looks like they're moving with 7 miles, which is typical for a convoy. So their next position after 1 hour would be there, and our next position after 1 hour would be here. So I am definitely catching up with them. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's this other generation of the people who haven't served in Vietnam. That's also quite some impressive chapter, I think. Yeah, particularly for you guys from the US. Yeah, I think that was one of the last wars where just like ordinary people we kind of got into service and were sent to war, right? I think nowadays it's all professional soldiers who are going abroad to wage war. What's the Clyde? You don't mean the River Clyde. Was it a ship called Clyde? Yeah, and then there was this Iraq war, yeah. So what was it about destroyed tanks? I don't remember. Ah, yeah, okay. Depleted uranium.
30 Meter. 10 Meter.
Yeah, yeah. So because uranium has this enormous mass, it was nothing about nuclear anything effect, but it was just because uranium had this enormous mass. That's why they made the tank ammunition out of that. The armor-piercing ammunition, yeah.
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet.
Yeah, it's about the mass. Depleted uranium. Some people might actually kind of think that it is some kind of a nuclear weapon, but it isn't. It's just about the momentum. So it's so heavy that it has such a momentum to actually go through any armor. Now, let's carry on for one more hour. Let's give it a save. And here we are. And let's do another hydrophone check.
Auf 35 Meter.
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet.
Yeah, like, yeah, right. So,
Tiefe.
Donald, great to have you in. So, of course, this is too far away, but in principle, what I do is, if I am closing in on the enemy, I look through the periscope and I get a certain bearing of the periscope. Like this is my course, and then I have a certain bearing on the periscope, and then I take the angle on bow like that. So in this case, 100 degrees would be my angle on bow, or their angle on bow on me, actually. This is how I used to do it. Of course, hypothetical at the moment, because we are still just too far away to have any visual. Ah, come on. It was.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloi?
So it was here. Oh, okay. Could be that they're moving Fast. Oh, okay. That seems to be a very large convoy. So one here, convoy 02, and another one there. Let's call it convoy 03, but maybe part of that one. So, yeah, Donald, in principle, I would go to periscope observation, like look at, in this case, yeah, don't have it. Yeah, we are submerged still. So I would get the bearing of the target. And right now, let's assume that we have the bearing of the target being something like so, blob, blob, and assume that via the periscope you got that angle of 42 degrees. So you look at the target at 42 degrees, and then from all your hydrophone checks you have the rough impression that the target is moving on a particular course like that. So important thing is that you do some hydrophone checking on the target before, giving you a rough impression of that target. And then if you finally get eyes on the target on a certain degree, like for example 42 degrees, then you could just say, okay, if it is like that, then their angle on bows on me would be 114. Yeah, if you were better in maths, doing it in your head, you might not need that. But for me, I always have to have that kind of visualization. Yeah, we are still checking hydrophones.
Ja?
And these two contacts.
Anblasen.
There we go, back to the surface. Hey, that's fine. That's why I do that streaming. Donald pretty much love to explain things. Of course, there are a lot of people in the stream who are pretty familiar with the game, and some of you guys are probably even much better and have more experience than me. I even know that some of you have been doing the whole walkthrough through the campaign till end of the war, which I never did. But yeah, still, that's why I do this, to explain things. That looks pretty fast. Yeah, let's still assume that they are going with something like 7 miles. And us going with 17 miles. Let's see if we can do that. 1 hour. What would be the distance to their course? 5 miles. Time is 11 o'clock, so there they are. We already have them. The smoke columns on the horizon. Well, yep, let me think about that. Yeah, you say lol. You say that in Germany just as well. So these are these kind of, yeah, internet terms which also become popular around here. So in Germany, young people also say just lol. Yeah, Glück wouldn't be the proper term. Let me think about it. What would you say? If you were not using the term lol, which is pretty common actually. I don't know. I have to admit that I am not able to state a proper translation of lol to German. No. Yeah, you could say something like ich werf mich weg vor Lachen. Hey Donald, no, I have to admit I have no idea. That pretty much depends on which software you do have locally, I think. Anybody else in the audience? Do you have any hint for Donald? Yeah. Ich hau mich weg. Yeah, Scratchy, that's good. Ich hau mich weg vor Lachen, yeah. Hey Donald, don't know. Yeah, afterwards you could actually watch the stream and maybe you could download it. But to be honest, I don't quite know how you would do that. Yeah, this stream is not lost. You would find that stream on Twitch. Or, yeah, also on YouTube. On YouTube it takes something like 24 hours until it's uploaded. On Twitch you have it right away available. Yeah, Yippee Up gives you a high towards YouTube. So this stream will be saved on YouTube as well as on Twitch, and I'm pretty sure that somehow you could actually download it. Or, well, what you can 100% do is send the link to just anybody. Ich breche nieder. That's not bad. That sounds pretty southern German, does it? That's not northern German, is it? Just my guess. Yeah, propellers detected. Oh, that's weird. Now the captain. Are they hull up already? Part of them are, maybe. No, not quite. At least this is an enormous convoy. And let's see that we can put ourselves in front of that convoy. Ich schmeiß mich weg vor Lachen, yeah. So guys, if I look at time, it's already 20 past 3 around here, at night actually. So, I think I'm gonna stop that stream. We are about to move ourselves into a great firing position onto that convoy, and we are gonna continue that tomorrow night. But for now, I have to turn in. Removed cola? Hi, hi. That's great to have you in the stream. Yeah, you're completely right. This is what really worries me. I'm pretty sure that we will have to abandon our ongoing campaigns with the update and the DLC, and that we will have to start anew. And that pretty worries me. Just, yeah, like you say. But I'm pretty sure that I'm probably gonna stop that campaign and start a new one for the DLC. It will be not compatible, probably. Yeah, hey, yippie up. Your German is perfect. Gute Nacht. Schlaf gut. Und wir sehen uns morgen. Yeah, guys. Yes. Scratchy, good snashtly, yeah. So, that pretty much confirms my impression that you're more coming from the southern part of Germany, aren't you? Yeah, however, it was a pleasure to have you in. Yeah, tomorrow I think I'm gonna start again, something like, yeah, something between 11 and 12 o'clock, not earlier. Would be great to have you in then. Yeah, you're from Baden-Württemberg. I would have guessed that, yeah. I've been living in Baden-Württemberg for quite a while. I've been living in Stuttgart for something like 4 years. Pretty much enjoyed it. It was don't be worried about saying something rude. Yeah, Scratchy. That's quite some. Ah, nice, Herrenberg. Yeah, okay. So I was living in living in a shared flat at Ecke Schwabstraße, Rote Bühlstraße. That's pretty precise, I think. Yeah, so guys, it was a pleasure to have you in. And yeah, at least here around in Germany, it's high time to get to bed. See you guys, and I would be so glad to have you in the stream again tomorrow. Bye bye, guys.